closing deals to opening minds. This is the Mr. D podcast. I'm Omar Andreasen, and we're about to get real about real estate, success, and the grit that it takes to build your best life. Let's dive on in.
Welcome back to the Mr. Deed podcast. Today's a special one. David's been introduced to in my life a few months back by another friend of mine. So who is David Siena? He's actually the founder of Scale with Sienna. He's a consultant that helps businesses streamline operations and scale really for long-term success. He has a background in business development, and he offers tailored solutions for companies to enhance efficiencies and expand market research. He specializes actually in like strategic planning, sustainable growth, and leadership development. Did I leave anything out?
Dude, was that you or was that AI? That was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That was
Yeah.
I can't lie to you, Omar. That was pretty phenomenal. I don't think you did.
Yeah, this is actually not really Omar. This is an AI bot that's actually talking to you right now. Fair enough.
You're now one of the most leveraged people I know, so I assume that this whole conversation is just
So the AI is a lot better looking. Awesome, man. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day and being here with us. So what we want to dive into is main reason we're doing this is because we want to educate the people that are listening to our show. We want to bring value to them. And in saying all that, how do you turn a no into a high ticket yes without dropping your price? Let me back up. What is it that you help businesses scale with? What was Scale with Sienna? What are you scaling?
That's a very good question. It's a good way to reframe that first question as well. And scaling, I focus really in like high ticket sales, B2B, or just like regardless, it's high ticket sales. So when we look at scaling, the two ways that we can scale is either through lead generation, being one of my favorite, or as in our conversations, growing out our organizational chart through recruitment, through adding high value talent. So those are the two biggest things that I focus on personally, are lead generation, prospecting, marketing, the copy, the moving people through emotions on a one-on-one or one-to-many basis. And on the other side, it's really through talent acquisition, recruitment, finding the right people that you can then leverage to gain more time back in your life. And that obviously comes in with leadership, vision casting, etc. I feel like those are the two biggest reasons why people decide to partner with me.
Okay. It's funny, you say lead gen and prospecting, and that falls under cold calling. Now, real estate agents hate doing this, but some don't. Some don't. And then I guess what I'm trying to ask is, if you're going to help, let's say I bring you on board, right? And you're like, Omar, I need you to lead generate. I need you to start prospecting, make phone calls and this, that, and the other. I'm like, all right, number one, how are you going to help me with that? And then number two, how are you going to hold me accountable at the same time to make sure I'm actually doing it?
So obviously, that there's a million different ways to lead generate, and cold calling is, I think, one of the most effective, maybe the most efficient one too, just because it's so easy to pick up the phone person to person. But what I'd say is, in order for me to help you cold call from the get-go, we need to understand why you're cold calling in general. Right. Okay. So for example, what's that? And you already know this, like, what's your very significant and specific goal that you have? Why is that goal significant in general? And then what's Omar or whoever's listening to this, what are they willing to sacrifice? Are they willing to pick up the phones, be uncomfortable, get rejected, get told to F off, etc.? What are they really willing to sacrifice? I think that's the biggest first thing that we need to identify, are the big goals, why it's significant, and what you're willing to sacrifice. Are you okay to be rejected 100 times a day if it means you're going to book an appointment? The second thing that we really focus on too, when it comes to cold calling specifically, or any other type of lead generation, is then, what is the data that we're calling? Who are we calling? Who are we targeting? What is the end result of those calls in itself? And then the third piece that I think of is, now what's the script? What's the vehicle that we're going to use? How are we going to make somebody feel on the phone? And that's when we can dig into scripting, role playing, etc. But only after we figure out the significance of doing it, the data that we're going to be calling and extracting. And then the third item, realistically, being the script and the vehicle.
Okay. Because, and I think we just need to change the name cold calling because we can't
Do you
call
want,
to
you
me.
want me to?
Go ahead.
I'll
Are
change
you
it for
gonna
you.
are you gonna cold call me?
I'm going to change it. Call it business development. You're not cold calling, you're developing your business.
Oh, I like that actually. There we go. All right, guys, you heard that from Mr. Siena himself. It is not cold calling anymore. It's actually business development, which I think, you know what? I think that's genius because yeah, that's what it is. You are actually developing your business. Look at that. I'm already feel like I'm scaling already with Sienna. I mean, it's freaking great. Look at that. I'm already scaling with you.
Already scaling.
Business development. All right. So now, so talking about business development, what's the exact process, would you say, to move someone from business development lead to a paid client in under 10 days?
In
Let's get them
under 10
fast.
days.
Yeah.
It really depends on what the normal sales cycle is as well. Are you doing life insurance? Are you doing real estate? Because we obviously know. But what I would say in general is, and I left it on my whiteboard. I don't know if people are listening to this or watching it, but in order to move a lead forward in general, there always needs to be a perceived pain, emotion, or outcome. So whether you're looking to sign somebody in one day, hypothetically, if you're doing life insurance, or whether you're looking to move a transaction in the real estate process, it does go back almost to the what's your very specific goal of this conversation and really digging deeper and asking the questions. And I look at the four quadrants. Have you ever seen these four quadrants before?
Talk to us about the four quadrants. Drop
So
some. I want to scale more with Sienna.
okay, so if I'm looking at the four quadrants that are behind me, you'll see in the top left corner the positive present, aka what's your vision? Where do you want to go? What's the outcome? Why are you here? Why are we meeting right now? And you can do that regardless of what you're trying to sell. I could even be selling this marker and I can be asking the same questions. What are you looking to get out of this marker? What are you looking to get out of this pen? And then looking at the question right now. So, for example, if I'm talking to a buyer or seller, just to pivot to real estate, what's not working well in this home right now? I know you mentioned that right now you're looking to get into a bungalow because your knees are in pain. Who else is that affecting? What does your day to day life look like? Focusing on the negatives currently right now. If they're far away from their family, I know you mentioned, Omar, that you haven't seen your kids in 2 months because they live 3 hours away. How is that affecting you and your headspace? Asking those negative questions about the right now, helping them uncover. And it's not, and I use the analogy about a lot of people think handling objections is like winning an argument or trying to persuade somebody, when realistically, instead of pulling on a knot and fighting against one against the other, what you're trying to do is unravel the knot by asking really good questions.
I'm laughing at that because I'm like, right when you said like argument and winning, I'm like thinking of my wife. All right, I'll stop now.
No, but it's the same thing. Well,
Yeah.
even if this is the same framework I would use if I was like arguing with a partner, right?
Okay.
Is an argument, but then again, is an argument or objection handling. Are you meant to win? Because if you win, you're obviously going to lose that argument with your wife in the long term, right? It's going to affect your relationship. When you're dealing with a prospect, it's the same thing. Instead of trying to win, what you're trying to do is unravel a knot, and you unravel the knot by asking really good questions. The third part of the quadrant is then focusing on the negative future. Hey, Omar, I know you mentioned before that your knees are doing X, Y, and Z, and it's causing you all this pain. 2 years from now, and that's still continuing, how does your life look? You're focusing on the negative future. And until and only until this individual understands the negative consequences of not taking action and learning more about your product or your sales process, that's when you can go and pitch yourself. And only when they've understood the consequences of not moving forward. So if you want to move somebody quick, regardless if it's an argument or if it's a sale, that's exactly what I would do. If I'm trying to recruit a big agent or a big producer to my team, that's the exact framework. I'm not talking about selling anybody. It's more about helping them sell themselves first.
Okay, so I like that. So what the four quadrants, so we have up there. So you got what's that? The PP is for the positive present. No?
Positive present. Yeah.
Positive present.
You said PP, so I
That's awesome. He said PP. So we got the positive present, we got the
positive
negative
present.
present, we got the
Yep.
negative future, and then we got the positive future, correct? All
Yep.
right,
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. No, okay. Awesome. So now we know, and that's the what quadrant that you
The
call that?
four, the four quadrants. I don't know who came
The
up with
four
it, but
quadrants.
I've been ripping it off for the past 7 years.
All right. So using the quadrant, how do I settle someone who has, or not sell to somebody? No, I'm not going to ask that because that's not the question that I want to ask. And now I asked a question in my head. I'm like, that's not where I want to go with this. So we're going to completely take that one out because you answered it for us. But all right, let's talk about now what scaling with Sienna looks like. So when it comes to, let's say I come to you and I want my business to, hey, listen, let's have a meet down. Here's the issues with my business. And let's say it probably has to do with we need to bring in more money, which obviously means I need to do more deals, which means I need to do more business development, okay, through that. So if how does that look like with you? Is okay, we're gonna sit down and talk, and then we're gonna design a plan. And then with this plan, here's some deadlines. What does that look like? Walk me through that. So put the listeners on here so they can see, you know what, maybe David is the person for me to help me out with X, whatever that could be in that business development.
That's a great question. And you're obviously asking for the framework that I would take a client through. And like I mentioned, when we first met, what are you willing to do at the end of the day? So that obviously opens the door on what types of lead generation strategies that we can focus on. Now, what I will say in general, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, I might have mentioned it briefly in conversation, but in 2024, I worked on a real estate team. I was the director of growth on a team that closed 2,600 transactions and 1.2 billion in sales volume in 2024. And every single agent on that team had the exact same business plan from the framework perspective. Yeah, probably, I don't know if I mentioned this to you specifically,
No.
but yeah, so this is good. This is all fresh information. So 1.2 billion in volume, 2,600 transactions, one business plan. The way that we broke that down was the biggest thing, non-negotiable, was that an individual's database needed to be leveraged and needed to be utilized. Now, I interviewed 93 of my agents at the given brokerage I was at, and there was two groups of individuals. And the reason why I'm talking about database right now is because the average individual, they're only getting roughly a 0.5 to 1% return on their database. So the individuals, however, that were actively nurturing and feeding their database, Omar, this is something that you're doing really well, and this is a reason that I would join your team if I was an agent in your area, is the fact that you have a proven system and model that somebody can plug into in regards to getting a better return on their database. And that was the exact same thing that we did on our team in Arizona. For example, there was an individual named Don on the given team. He went within 15 months from closing 10 million on average per year to closing 42 million within the following 15 months, solely from leveraging his database. So that was the biggest non-negotiable that every single person, if you were joining the team, you were working your database or you were kicked off. That was the biggest source of business that we had on that given team. Now, before I move forward, do you have any questions about that? Because I feel like I just dropped a bomb on you.
You did. So when you say leveraging your CRM and your database, dive deeper into that. What do you mean by that?
Obviously, a lot of individuals understand that they want to be relationship-based agents that get a ton of referrals, but in reality, there's no law. They're not doing anything to feed the law of reciprocity, right? They're not really providing value to their database in order for them to attract transactions and get an abundant amount of referrals. So when we look at an individual's database, and this is, I was obviously working with a different brokerage before where I was able to have access to a lot of given agents. A lot of the agents out there who said that they were relationship-based agents were talking to their database very sporadically and had no proven system or model. And you see it a lot too. Agents are calling their database sporadically, they're posting on social media, and they're expecting to get business. Now, on the team, we understood that we had to talk to our database at a very minimum of over 100, maybe 150 times per year with value. So that's what I mean about leveraging our database. What value are we actively giving to individuals? And I'm not talking about value about sending Omar, if you were my database, I'm not going to be sending you a cookbook knowing that you don't cook. Like what real, maybe you do cook. Hey, sorry, no strays there, no strays. I'm not picking on you, but dude, if you sent me a cookbook,
Sure feels
That
like
means
it.
you don't know me. What value are we actually providing to our database in order for them to build that relationship, obviously, and be that person of choice?
Yeah, and if you do send me a cookbook, just make sure it's a microwave cookbook. Here's the best dishes you can make with a microwave. But you know what? You actually made a very good point because, and the only thing that I would disagree with you on, and is that I was actually in a course, and they're saying now that you pretty much need to hit your database anywhere between, and that one person between 200 to 300 times a year, even more if you could. And they were like, because right now the way things are is that you really need to make sure that you are you become first in mind for whatever business it is that you're running. So and you need to hit them in different ways. Number one, you can't hit them always with the same exact way every single time because then,
No.
like you said, are you really bringing value? You're not. So let's say you have one system that hits them on, I'll use real estate for example. Okay, like how much your home is worth, or just giving you simple reports and different ideas, investment ideas. Then you have another one that hits them with just, hey, stopping by, saying hi. All these different systems, and I love what you said though about if you drop off a person a cookbook or something like what the hell? Well, why are you giving me a cookbook? I don't cook, or even worse, oh yeah, just wanted to, let's say, give you something that's more for kids. I don't even have a kid or a dog or a cat. It's like, why are you giving me this? And I love how you said that because that was one thing like within this course that I took a few weeks back. They're like, the reason why some people don't ever call you ever again is because you're not giving them a reason to. You're sending them garbage is what you're
Mhm.
doing. So I love how you brought that you really got to come in with value and you got to spray it all over the place because when it comes to value, everyone deals with different things in life, right?
It goes back to the law of even just thinking about obscurity being defined as not being known. At the end of the day, what are like how many times, I know it doesn't happen for you, but how many agents out there are heartbroken consistently because their family members or friends forget that they're an agent? Like you're never going to have that issue because you're top of mind. That's a very common issue for a lot of individuals. I'll take it a step further, and you've already heard the statistic, but NAR mentioned that I think it was 87% of individuals said that they would reuse their realtor last year, and only 13% did. We do a terrible job, not we, because we're awesome, but a lot of other agents out there are not doing a good enough or an adequate job of providing value, or else they would have used that agent. With an 87% satisfaction rate, you would expect that 13% number to be at least 87%, right?
No, that's very true. And I love how you just brought that up because I didn't even know that. So only 13% did. Huh? That was none of my people, by the way. I can guarantee that's
No,
100%
I know it's not you. I know it's not me. But however, if anybody's listening to this, there's a great pitch for your team.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so we talked about leverage, at how to really use the leverage of your CRM to really be contacting and just working those leads. So when you were on that team, that's all they did. They were doing business development on their CRM. And
That was one of the focuses. So they broke it down into three areas, and I'll even, for anybody listening, I'll talk out loud, but then for anybody else watching, I'll write it down here. But the way they broke it down was into three different categories. One being SOI,
okay,
where you're telling me 300 times, so you got way more touch points than I have in my mind. And then that's when you can think about the quarterly call, for example, the events, obviously, the email campaigns, the equity updates, all that other fun stuff that I'm not going to dive into. The other item that they really dug very heavily into were events, and events for different individuals in their databases. So, for example, they categorize their A's or their VIP clients into individuals that were at least going to give them 3 to 5 pieces of business per year.
okay,
Those individuals got a different level of value than anybody else. The B's, they might get a referral per year from, they're going to get a different piece of value than everybody else. Just there was literally quarterly events. So if you were an A client, you were getting invited to a monthly event. If you were a B, there was a different type of, it was bi-monthly. You know what I mean? If you
very
were
cool.
everybody, there was a quarterly event. So they dug really heavily into doing the event side. And then the last thing, we know that the database is a depreciating asset. People are dying, people are moving away, people are unfortunately going broke and getting the drugs, etc. They can't afford their lifestyles anymore. So we know that we need to be growing the database. I was going to say LG lead generation. Let's go
Business development.
Business development. So what are you committing to doing every single day? What are we doing every single day to grow our database? Is that calling like for sale by owners, expires? Is that door knocking, open houses? What are we doing to at least, and I'm not saying this for everybody, but if we're not booking an appointment every single day from one of these three sources, then what did we actually accomplish?
Yeah, what did we do? No, I like that. So I love the SOI. I love the events. I love the business development. But you know what? I loved how you mentioned through the events how they broke it up into different categories. And I guess for anyone listening, if you can start that, I would just say this: start somewhere. Because, and you're like, I don't have much money to do that or the other. You could do something simple. You could partner up with a lender. You could partner up with your title company. You can go, there's a way to do it, but you have to start somewhere. And then from there, obviously, you'll keep on developing and it'll get bigger and you'll figure out your systems. And, but I love how you said SOI events and then business development, because pretty much that is, that's pretty much the secret sauce of any company, right? You got to take care of the people who keep on coming back to you. You have to have events because then that's going to create brand awareness and business development. Who, you need to know me if you don't know me. So give me a shot. I love that. I love that. All right. So is there, I guess when someone calls you and then you already said, first, we're going to find out what you need help with, but then number two, what is it that you're willing to give up? Have you ever had
That would be the third one. So
okay.
I look at this as my coach did this with me when I believe it was when I left Arizona to start this business. What's your very specific goal? And it was a financial goal. Why is that financial goal significant? Because if there's no significance, you're never going to do it. And then the third S was the sacrifice. What were you willing to sacrifice in order to get there? Are you willing to spend 100K on coaching? Like true story. Are you willing to invest an exorbitant amount of money on coaching? Yes. Are you willing to do, what I mean, be on the phones and lead generate? Are you willing to do X, Y, and Z? Yes.
Now, do you have any clients where you've had the conversation and then you had the pain point and well, I guess number one, what is the craziest pain point that you heard somebody say that they'll give up? I gotta ask, what is the
Dude,
craziest one you heard?
I don't, you know what? The very first coaching client that I've ever gotten to business with, the pain point was that he didn't see his first daughter grow up.
Oh, sorry.
And he had a second daughter. He had a second daughter. And it was a simple question of, if you don't have that leverage in your life, are you willing to sacrifice not seeing your second child grow up just like you missed your first one? That was the biggest pain point. I felt like an ass saying that, but that was the biggest pain point. There wasn't really a lot to sacrifice after that because the pain was so high, everything else was irrelevant.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And usually that the family is always one of the biggest ones when it comes to pain point. So it's like, what are you going to sacrifice? And what would you say, like, when you give me an example of somebody like, wow, you're willing to sacrifice that just blew your mind. Have you had a client just
I don't know if there's anything super in my mind though. It's like I always reframe it as we're like, if the goal is going to be that much higher, the sacrifice is irrelevant, right? I've never seen like in the game of business, this is very easy. It's very simple, right? You got to be willing to get uncomfortable and talk to people. I personally don't know like I can't think of anything that was super unique that somebody had to give up. What they had to give up going out and drinking every night or like partying, etc. And they had to like get up early. There's nothing too great. Like to me, if you were able to hit your goals, would you be willing to wake up at an earlier day? Like I know you wake up every day, what, 4 or 5 a.m. to get to the gym. That's a sacrifice you make, but you're also healthy, but you're also energetic, but you're also in shape. See where I'm getting at? So the sacrifice of not overly drinking or overly eating out and doing all that other stuff and waking up early, that sacrifice is nothing in compared to what you're gaining. What you're really gaining is you're gaining freedom. You're gaining a good relationship with your family. So I think of it a little bit weird, I guess, and thinking about it that the sacrifices are never that big in rewards to the growth that you're going to gain.
okay? Let's say someone wants to reach out to Mr. Sienna and they're like, you know what? I want you to come out and yeah, we can have a video meeting, but I want you to come out and meet me with my team so then we can sit there and let you know what we're thinking. Do you travel to meet people?
I do. I just
Okay.
actually got back from Houston a couple months back. So that was a lot of fun.
Okay. All right. And I guess trying to think of a really good one to ask you just to stump you.
Please do.
Yeah, mostly just because we know each other. So that's what I was like, what can I do to really stump him, but keep it PG-13 at the same time? Yeah, I mean, I would say this, that when it comes to it, I consider you a friend, and obviously you're a business partner of mine. And listen, guys, what I will tell you is that if you're serious about scaling your business, whatever it could be, I would say this, and not being afraid of somebody talking to you and telling you, hey, we've been doing this for X amount of months now or weeks, and I don't see us going anywhere. What's the reason? What's going on? Is it me? Is it you? Are we not vibing? And you know what? Dive into that a little bit. What happens when somebody decides to bring you on and you just find that something is not working out the way that you guys agreed? So walk me through that.
Yeah, so I'm in business with 51 individuals right now, and I've only had to fire 3 people in the past year. So very blessed to be in business with individuals that are super, super focused. Now, I will tell you that the 3 individuals I got out of business with were for all the exact same reasons. My values it's not even about money anymore. My values are super clean cut, and you can find them anywhere. They're tattooed on me, right? My values are,
let me see.
They're on my leg. I don't actually have my values tattooed, but I wear them on my chest though. My values are winning above all else with integrity in a disruptive way, and commitment in all things. Those are really the 3 biggest ones that I look at. The 3 clients that I got out of business with and that I unfortunately had to fire were individuals who would commit to doing activities, and week in and week out, they weren't actually attaining them, or they weren't willing to sacrifice anything. Like, I just got off a call with the clients literally an hour before our podcast, and they said that they didn't do their calls. So the activity, what we did, and this is hilarious, like, I hope we never have to do this. I had him write me a $10,000 check in the mail. And if he doesn't do his lead generation, he gave me permission to donate that check to a charity. $10,000 being an amount of money that would hurt him, wouldn't make him bankrupt, but would hurt him enough in order to actually want to do the lead generation. That's like a sacrifice that somebody's willing to make. The 3 individuals I got out of business with, they just weren't doing the activities. I'm never going to be the coach or the consultant or the growth partner to just swipe somebody's credit card if they're not actually hitting their goals or they're not actually doing what they need to do.
Okay.
I've had numerous, and you know this, I've told you about this in a few different instances before we got into business together. If I'm gonna call you out on your shit if you don't do your activities, and at the end of the day, if it continues, maybe we're not meant to be a fit together.
Yeah, no, and I love that. I truly do love that, and I appreciate that about you. Guys, listen, David Siena, do you want to scale with him, or do you just want to get fired by him? Completely up to you. So either way, he's taking your money, and then he fires you, and then because he's a nice guy, and because you're not actually scaling with him. So I love it. You know what? You're not scaling with me. You got to go, because I don't want to waste my time on you, because there's other people.
You know what? There's only so many ships on the rocket ship. There's only so many seats. Sorry, not ships. There's only so many seats. Sorry, that was my bad. There's only so many seats on a rocket ship. I want the people who are on it to plug in and actually get value out of it. It's the biggest thing that we're chasing right now, is winning.
No, you're right. And I love that. Guys, listen, down below, you're going to find how to reach out to David. Okay. So we got Instagram, we got Facebook, we got YouTube. So please make sure, if it's something that you're struggling with, or you're looking to improve your business some way, somehow, whether it's lead generation, marketing, sales strategies, whatever that might be, give him a shout. And I guarantee, knowing David, if he doesn't have that answer for you, he knows somebody else who will be a perfect fit for you. So David, I just wanted to thank you so much for having you on this call today, taking time out of your, I guess, not so busy day, because you just fired 3 people. But yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us.
This is Omar Andreasen signing off and reminding you that success in real estate and in life is built one deed at a time. Until next time, keep it real, stay sharp, and don't forget to give life a big whammo and keep moving forward.